Hello ladies and gentlemen. Today I wanted to try something a little bit different by combining some of the films that I think are underrated into one bundle style review. These films all got less than 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, but I think they deserve much higher than that. Let's get started with Hancock. Now, I love this film. It's such an intriguing demystification of the superhero genre. There's nothing quite like it, I don't think. Will Smith kills it in the main role as Hancock. I actually thought the CGI was great. I didn't really notice any differences between that and any other big budget superhero film that was to come out at the time. I know other people had problems with the CGI, but I didn't find that. I thought it really mixed the comedy with the seriousness very well in very clever ways, while also being emotionally powerful as well. It's really, really good stuff. I'm going to give Hancock an A+. Moving on now to the Expendables 3. Now this film really surprised me. I enjoyed the first two films in the franchise, but I didn't think they were anything particularly special. But I really liked the concept of an Avengers style film starring old action stars from the 80s and 90s. And I think that the Expendables 3 finally delivered on that fun action premise that I was pining for throughout the first Expendables, which I thought was having a bit of an identity crisis. It didn't know whether it wanted to be fun or serious. And Expendables 2, which I enjoyed more, but I didn't think it was anywhere near as well made as the first one. But the Expendables 3 is definitely what I would consider to be the most well made and fun Expendables film. I think it's great. The additions of Wesley Snipes and Harrison Ford are great. The directing and action has a very distinct flair. Mel Gibson as the villain really surprised me. He has a fight with Sylvester Stallone in this film that I thought was a thing of beauty, and it was actually quite inspiring. I'm going to give the Expendables 3 an A-. Moving swiftly along, let's talk about Terminator Genesis. Now this film got a lot of controversy surrounding it. It was essentially a soft reboot of the franchise, but I'm not going to lie, I adored it. I absolutely love Terminator Genisys. It had been on my radar for a while because I loved the concept, and the cast I thought was wonderful. I don't personally mind the idea of a Terminator reboot. The franchise has always had the potential to diverge into alternate timelines anyway, considering that the entire series is literally about time travel. And thankfully, I think the film is an awesome exploration of that idea, and I found it fantastic to watch. It's a ton of fun. It has great emotional depth. The action scenes are very well helmed. It's a brilliant twist on the normal Terminator formula. The comedy actually works. Jai Courtney and Emilia Clarke nail their main roles. Matt Smith, come on. Matt Smith is just the best in everything he does. And Arnold Schwarzenegger is always a welcome sight, and especially here, he plays a character called Guardian. It's the first time he hasn't really been called a Terminator, even though that's what he is. It was nice to have that distinction. It isn't a perfect film, however, though. The story is a little bit convoluted at times and hard to understand. You really have to pay attention. And there's an unexplainable event or two here and there, but that's with every film. I thoroughly enjoyed Terminator Genisys, and I would wholeheartedly recommend you watch it, and I'm going to give it an A. Last but not least, I want to talk about Assassin's Creed. It did nothing but impress me from start to finish. From the acting, to the cinematography, to the sets, to the editing, everything is great. What I love most though is the way that Kurzel helms action. He also directed Macbeth with Michael Fassbender, and that is one of my favourite films of all time. And the way that film looks and the way the action was so viscerally helmed is carried over here into Assassin's Creed, especially in the way that the action cuts from the animus simulation to the real world. I thought that was very inventive and very cool. Despite the fact that the action can be quite quick at times in terms of how fast they cut between different angles, it doesn't really bother me. It didn't bother me in Man of Steel, and it doesn't bother me now. All of the main actors nail the emotional moments, and there are some scenes, especially involving a certain famous song, that I found really tension-filled. The badass moments really hit home for me, and they filled me with intense glee. I had such a wide smile on my face. Again, Kurzel commanding the camera. His flair is unparalleled. He's honestly an inspiration. I think this is what all video game adaptations should aspire to be, and it's one of the most underrated films I think I've ever seen. And I am going to give Assassin's Creed an A+. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope to see you again soon.